Your video was showing to me.
Now it's stopping. It's not doing, and I don't know why.
Hang on a second. I'm going to see if I can add NDI.
Can't see. Okay. Closing that. All right, I'm going to try one more time. If
Make sure my NDI is connected here. Connect. Just hang on a second, Earth Explorers. We're working on it here. Hold on a second. Okay, NDI activated. Now we'll see if we can. Go. Ah, okay, it's working.
is it?
So
All
as
right.
soon as you get your camera working, we will be live.
I think I've got it.
We don't have any sound from TFR tonight, Earth Explorer, so just hang in there a little bit. We're getting ready to bring Luckee One on, and we'll do a special edition of Quantum Connections tonight. So hang in there just one moment, and we will be live with video. It'll be fun. The chat room is catching up. It's kind of interesting because people are not expecting us to go live on video, but that's okay. They'll get the notifications, and we'll see what happens. All right, let me go to my main screen so you can see me. All right, there we go. And then we will activate the guest screen. So as soon as she gets her camera working, we'll bring it on. But my special guest, it's a co-broadcast tonight of Quantum Connections as a workaround to Truth Frequency Radio Network, which is undergoing some major construction work right now. But that's okay. You're here with me. Notifications are going out. Ah, there you go. I see your video.
Oh, good.
Let me expand your screen just a little bit right there. And now you are live on 6 platforms. Happy to have you all here tonight. We're live on Foxhole. We're live on Twitch. Oh, that reminds me. Let me get over to Foxhole and make sure that I activate that screen. All right, here we go. And we are now live on Foxhole as well. So this is good.
Hi.
Your green screen's a little weird. You've undergone some major weight loss in the below the neck there. It's all like a...
I don't know what. And it feels like I'm echoing.
Not really. You sound fine. All right. Let me see if I can clean up the screen just a little bit because she's a little bit large. That's okay. Well, you're covering the entire screen. So. All right, there we go.
No, I don't see you on camera either.
Well, you won't.
I don't see you on camera either.
Won't because I can only run one camera at a time. If I try to run the other camera...
So are you on YouTube?
Yes,
right.
we
So
are
you
on
on
everything.
YouTube?
We're on Foxhole,
Okay,
Twitch, Facebook, DLive, Twitch.
That I can find up.
Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, and Rockfin, all at the same time. So let's break into the news. What have you got? What's our metals report tonight?
Metals report I haven't done. Except for gold. except for gold, I just found out that it went down to 1898. And I found out that we've been reporting that it was that it was 22 karat. We've been reporting that it's pure gold, but it's actually 22 karat is what we've been quoting all this time. And that's enough of that. So I mean, yeah, 99% pure is what it says on the coins, but still, I'm putting in here that we're doing live here. I'm doing live here. There. That's about as close as I can get. That's about as close as I can get. Sorry. And silver, it went down also. Let me get that again. Let me get that again. Bitcoin breached 40,000. It finally. And but the thing about the gold is it plummeted like $60.
Interesting.
And silver is at $24.22 per ounce. Now the interesting thing what's going on is stock market's looking really funny right now, but Twitter is going to skyrocket. It's showing the signs of a huge spike coming up. The reason being is Elon Musk bought it. It's under Elon Musk now. Yay.
Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen there. I think he's released some interesting tweets about some changes he wants to make to Twitter to make it more user-friendly and to make it more free speech. And I suggested he do two things. Two things would make Twitter rocket. I mean, his shares would double in less than 30 days. And the first one is dump all the bots.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the first things he's going to do. That, and he's going to be bringing people back. The conservatives are not going to be, thrown to the side anymore. And I foresee that. There's a lot of conservatives coming back already because they had left Twitter because of all the bias. So there's like Mark Levine, he's back. He just came back onto Twitter.
Nice.
Now, a lot of people are asking, why are we so focused on this? It's because it's a social media platform from all around the world. And it's not so bloated like Facebook. You know, you've got 140 characters to get your point across, and that's it. And your Twitter feed can go really fast if you have a lot of people on it, you know, if you follow a lot of things. It's also a business. It's a business opportunity too. You can, through Twitter, you can advertise your websites. You can advertise, you know, without having to pay. Just by tweeting out something about your business or product or whatever have you. Engage with folks. Okay, apparently we've got an echo going on.
Nope, the echo's fixed now.
It's fixed. Okay, thank you. Twitter has this reach from all over the world. You get to talk to people from all over the world.
Oh, well, see, that brings me to my second thing. First, get rid of the bots. And the second one is way more important than the first. Stop the shadow banning.
Yes.
If I have 10,000 followers on Twitter and I tweet something, by God, 10,000 people should see that tweet.
Exactly. And let's see. Yeah, I've got one more follower. Somebody followed me today. So I said the same here, you know, that there was an increase. Usually I don't. Okay, what I'm seeing for the past couple years, I have only 2,020 maximum. Now, well, actually, that's in the last year. Before that, it was 2,700. I had a whole lot of followers before that, and I used to make 1 million impressions per month.
Yeah.
Okay. As a matter of fact, I mean, TFR, even in its height of popularity, everybody knew I was the Twitter queen of TFR.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you used to tweet out everybody's programs and everything, and everybody had, you know, when we were counting, actually had a counter on iHeart, we were running between 5,000 and 7,000 people live on iHeart. And, of course, we lost that ability to count that. But since Twitter started shadow banning, I was running ads, and I would get, 330,000, 350,000 impressions a week. And then once Charm of Favor came out, it went to zero, to nothing. It flatlined, and it never went back up. It didn't matter how much money I spent. Twitter wasn't showing my posts. And I wasn't the only one. They were hurting everybody.
Oh. And the thing is that wait a minute, I seem to recall something else too. You advertised, you paid for advertising on Twitter and nobody saw your ads.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Because I think I recall that I didn't see your ad. I had to go search for it on your timeline and retweet it from there. But to me, that's fraud. If you're advertising and you're paying money to advertise and it doesn't, just to 10% of your followers, no. That's the wrong answer. How is it that, I don't know. I mean, to me, that's fraud.
Well, I don't know if it's fraud, but it's definitely engineered censorship. And, this is something that as Elon Musk says, this is the town square. Like it or not, Twitter is the town square of the world. And, for a long time, like way back in the mid 2000s, it was a pretty good platform. We could rock pretty well. I could sell, 300-400 books a month. But after, I guess, the army came in, 15,000 employees at Twitter, they worked to silence all of the conservative voices. And that include conservative ads. When I was banned for life from Facebook Business, they deleted my account and said I could never advertise on Facebook again. I thought, I don't really advertise bad stuff. I advertise books and audiobooks and stuff like that, which are for sale on Amazon. But Facebook did not want those books to sell. And my sales dropped to about 1/10 that amount. And they've been staying there ever since.
Yeah, that's a crock of crap. I want to see something, see how far this goes, or if it gets me banned. I don't know. It could happen. Because you got all the virtue signaling. Okay, so this is where I'm going with it. And hang on a second here, because I think I have to adjust this. But the thing about this Twitter thing and all the people just losing their crap about it, I think it's funny. Because they deserve it, because we've been so oppressed in our voices. So now everybody's scared to death that all the pronounced people are going to get banned from Twitter or something. And too bad, so sad. There's a lot of us who just didn't agree with things like the pronoun thing. So what I just posted was, I think something everybody should know about. Here in Tennessee, if you're a resident of Tennessee governor has signed a transgender athlete penalty bill.
A penalty bill?
Yeah, Tennessee will soon add harsh penalties against public schools that allow transgender athletes to participate in girls' sports under legislation recently signed into law by Republican Governor Bill Lee. He quietly signed the proposal last Friday without comment. He had previously signed a measure last year mandating that student athletes must prove their sex matches that listed on the student's original birth certificate. If a birth certificate was unavailable, then the parents must provide another form of evidence indicating the student's sex at the time of birth. This year, the GOP-controlled legislature decided to add penalties to that ban, which is in effect even as lawsuits challenging its constitutionality makes its way through the court. The trial's been tentatively set for March 2023. This looks like it's March 2022. Something's going to happen here. So according to this bill, Tennessee Department of Education would withhold a portion of the state funds from local school districts that failed to determine a student's gender for participation in middle or high school sports. The measure does not specify exactly how much money would be withheld by the state. The bill goes into effect on July 1st. So quote, okay, so ACLU had to weigh in, of course. Telling transgender students that they can't participate as to who they really are amounts to excluding them from sports entirely, depriving them of opportunities available to their peers and sending the message that they're not worthy of a full life, said Henry Seaton, ACLU of Tennessee's transgender justice advocate in a statement. Well, Tennessee lawmakers are also advancing a separate bill that would ban transgender athletes from participating in female college sports. This is big. You know, Tennessee is all about their sports, especially in college, and they're not going to have, this nonsense going on. I mean, can you imagine?
Well, yeah. I mean, you get a woman who has been working, since she was 10 to shave an eighth of a second off of her, swimming time in the 100-meter freestyle. And some dude jumps in the water and beats her record by 38 seconds. I know what I would do if I was a woman and I was on that second place podium, and I know I should be on the first. When he got on that platform, I would jump up on his platform, and I would say, "You get the hell off my property."
No, I'd go a little bit further than that. But let's yeah, because I've had enough. I've had enough of this. Okay.
You can't throat punch people in sports, Luckee.
I wasn't suggesting that, but the thing is that somebody actually tweeted today that if anybody calls him sir or boy or male, Mister, that he's going to throat punch somebody. So we're like,
oh,
all right, bro.
Really? Game on.
Right? It was a transgender. Apparently. A dude with makeup on. I'll just say it that way. Okay. That's what I'm going to start talking about. That's that way I don't touch on anybody's toes there. It's like, just say a dude with makeup on. Telling transgender students, okay, that Tennessee lawmakers are also advancing a separate bill that would ban transgenders from female college sports. Republicans have also pushed to let teachers and school districts use the pronoun that a transgender student does not prefer, exempting teachers from facing employment punishment and protecting schools from civil liability. Both proposals are expected to clear the General Assembly. Last year, no other state enacted more laws targeting transgender people than Tennessee. That included banning transgender athletes from playing girls' public high school or middle school sports. Let me go ahead and make something abundantly clear. Okay? This is not about people being racist or cis or whatever they're going to call it. This is about saving the lives of these transgender people. Let me tell you why. We got a bunch of rednecks around here. And I guarantee you, they are not going to give a rip about, somebody's feelings and their preferred pronouns. If you got one of these rednecks, and I know there's some mean old, mountain boys. They find out their little girl has been exposed in a locker room to a transgender. That means somebody born with a penis. I almost said the wrong word. You know what's going to happen? That transgender is going to be harmed badly. Okay, so this is going to save the lives. It really will. It will save the lives of these transgenders. And it's not because of hate. This is not about hate at all. This is about saving your children from pedophiles, because that's the next step. That's the next logical step. And it's already started. Now that we've got transgender, this and that and the other, all right, and gay marriage and all that stuff. And I don't mind gay marriage. I really don't give a rip what you do with your squishy parts, okay? Except when you touch kids or you start hurting kids. And that's where this is going. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you've got the MAMDA. Is it MAMDA?
NAMBLA. NAMBLA, the North American Man-Boy Love Association.
Yeah. And if these boys, they can't vote, they can't join the military, why are they choosing their gender? Why are they being exposed to these perverts and pedos? I think there's going to be a lot of changes starting now that Twitter has been bought by Musk. I'm hoping. That's my hope.
Well, it's going to be a change for the better. Twitter has become, in the last 2.5 years, I'd say 2 years anyway, has become an echo chamber for the left. And the mistake that they made, and the reason why Twitter sold for like 25 cents on the dollar, is because their business model failed. When they removed us and all of our followers, I'd say about 150 million followers, we're the ones that the advertisers wanted to reach. We're the ones that have the debit cards and jobs. We're the ones that buy stuff. And if we left, if the customers leave, the advertisers leave with them. And that's why Twitter was sold so cheap. It's a $200 million company or $200 billion company that sold for a little over $40 billion. And that's only because there was a lot of hype involved with it. And honestly, if it didn't sell, if Elon Musk, once he put the money together, was not allowed to buy it, it would have been the biggest shareholders lawsuit in SEC history.
Yeah. You know, it kind of gets me. You're bringing in Biden and the White House and everything. They've been notably quiet about Musk's purchase of Twitter.
They don't tweet. I mean, if once you remove the bots, Virtual Joe and his gang of criminals, they're gone. You know, when you have somebody that rants at you and calls you names, and they really do call names, you look and see how many followers they have. 3, 4. That's a bot.
Yeah. Well, we talked about that at length before, I think. I lost that link. I'm sorry. I just lost that link again. Excuse me. But we had talked about that before. And the thing is that a lot of people want Trump back. They want Trump back on Twitter.
Yep. The chat room is saying that right now, that Musk ought to invite Trump back. That would bring back 70, 80 million followers, and they would be active. However, you know, Trump started his own social network called Truth Social, and that is growing, and it is solvent and making money, and a lot of important people are on there that didn't go on Twitter, or that when they did go on Twitter, like Mark Levin and others, they got off because they were just deluged by bots, and most of the cancel culture took place on Twitter. When somebody went to speak at a college, or somebody from a corporation invested in a Republican candidate, Twitter would just light them up, and then they would back off.
Right. And you know, that's the thing. And Dorsey wasn't even in charge of that stuff, even though Jack Dorsey, you know, everybody was like, "Hey, Jack, this is a problem." You know, he wasn't even in charge. It was this board. It was this board that was making all these decisions. And all these employees that Twitter has, they haven't been going into the office. Obviously, there's a huge building that Elon Musk wants to turn into a homeless shelter. I think it's awesome. I don't know if you knew that.
I have been so busy lately. All 4 of my businesses are just rocking as hard as they can go, and I hardly have any time. But I've seen a couple of the video memes about Elon Musk purchasing Twitter, and they're hilarious, just hilarious. It's amazing.
I was having a great time watching this, just watching the whole exchange. I mean, because I got notification within minutes that when it happened. Pardon me, I'm going to sit Indian style, of course. This is so different having the camera on. Ooh,
I know. You have to stare into that little round thing right there with the red light on it. It's a little different. I've been doing it for a couple of years now, and I'm just now starting to get used to it. You can't pick your nose, you can't do any of that stuff. You're on all the time. And I have to give credit where credit is due. The creator of this method that we're using right now was none other than Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh created the Ditto Cam many years ago, and he did it as an experiment at first, and he only turned it on partially during some of the programs in the beginning. But he saw the vision that people not only wanted to hear him, and he had 20 million listeners a week, he figured they might want to see him in at the golden EIB microphone, and they were right. So all of this video blogging, all of this podcasting was invented by the late Rush Limbaugh.
Yep, he did. He started a whole new thing, didn't he? He was revolutionary in many ways. He saved the AM radio system.
I'll say he did. I remember I was in the automotive business. We were making cars in, I want to say the late 70s. We were making cars without AM radios in them. They had cassette players, they had FM radios, but no AM.
No AM.
AM was
can't
dead.
fathom that because, well, I remember when I was a kid, there was a what's it called? Well, my dad had this old radio, and it was an AM radio. Literally, it was an AM radio. It didn't even have FM. It was that old. It had a leather strap, okay, made out of leather, and dials on it.
Old tube type radio. They were awesome.
What's that?
A tube type radio. You'd be down here in like Nashville, Tennessee, and you'd be listening to live broadcasts in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And we kids would take that radio outside with us, and we'd just pitch a tent out in the yard just to get out of the house, right? And we would sleep outside and have that radio going. It didn't have the cool songs on it, but we could still hear some music. It didn't have the cool radio stations on there like KZ 106 in Chattanooga, or actually, I don't think 105 was in existence yet, but none of the pop, couldn't get any of that cool stuff. So we had to listen to country and talk radio, as it existed then. But yeah, that was a really neat world back then, But I'm glad that he saved AM radio because, the people, you don't have to have AM radio was a great thing because you don't have to have all the glitz and glamour of FM radio. If you're just to talk, people like us, I would love to be on AM radio right now. I don't mind.
Yeah,
I am not offended.
Baseball was on AM radio. We used to listen to baseball games every afternoon.
That's
and
right.
Alan Holman in the chat room says before Rush did the Ditto Cam, Art Bell had a webcam that took it took still images. It wasn't video. It was still images, and it would take several shots per hour. And what he would do is he would just refresh his screen, and a new picture would come up. So it was kind of innovative, but the technology really wasn't there yet. We were on dial-up modems back then. And Wrecking Ball 1776 had this interesting comment. I bet they're whining their ass off already, crying that Trump and conservatives will talk about God and country and American patriot pride. That's right.
Mm-hmm. And actually, and the thing is like not to disparage one religion over another, but there's a lot of non-Christians that are very glad to see this development on Twitter, and they want Trump back also. So there's so it's not just the Christians and the monotheistic, I'll say it that way, religions that's wanting him back. There's a lot of religions. And it's the funniest thing. I had a vision years and years ago, of Christians and pagans or witches coming together. No, you think I'm kidding? I had this vision, all right? And they were coming together and jointly standing up to evil and working spiritually, energetically to work against the evil that had taken over the land. Okay, so if people need to understand that we need to work together to get our country back and stop acting like, we're NFL teams saying pro-God, not anti-God. No, we don't need that. What we need is Americans.
Yeah, and
stand up for America.
See, the thing is, religion was invented by men. God has always been part of mankind, going all the way back to cave days to, the ancient Indians and Asians. They all worshipped a creator being. It was religion that was that brought in over thousands of years. And the interesting thing about religion is they seem to kind of all have the common roots. And they all do the same thing. They build their following around some charismatic and then some creed and some doctrine, and then they point their religion at all the other religions with hatred. All the other religions are going to hell. It was a perfect theater for Satan to breed division among men. And truth be known, I think if you really want to go back and research all the wars of all time, I would say they were caused by bankers and churches.
Oh, bankers and churches. Okay.
Which bankers, the churches controlled the tithes, and the bankers controlled the commerce.
And people being part of that commerce. It's amazing. What was it? I was just reading on something about Oh, no, it was a video. This one fellow did a video, and he did a pretty in-depth look at slavery here in the United States. And of course, he was pro teaching CRT because he's an educator and things like that. But he did do some in-depth study on what was going on in the slave world and what happened as time progressed, what it really meant. You know, the Jim Crow laws didn't happen until later. There was a lot of things that even your most wokest teachers in these schools, they don't even know about. There was a lot of bad things that happened back then. But what I find fault with him is he didn't talk about the white slaves. He didn't talk about the fact that women were chattel in marriage. You know, he didn't talk about that. It was only the black people that were enslaved, and reparations should be paid to them. And that's not quite right. The thing is that I didn't do it. You didn't do it.
And they forgot all about the Scottish and Irish people who were slaves in the very beginning of this country.
Exactly. And, you know, so the thing is like assigning blame onto a whole race for something that happened years ago that had nothing to do with half the people here. I mean, because nobody knows exactly when, if you just point out a white person, you don't know when their antecedents got here. No. Like you look at Trump, and you know he wasn't a slave owner. Neither was his mother. His mother came from Scotland through Ellis Island.
Right.
You can't blame him for being a racist or part of the slave. No, that doesn't work. It's not equating.
And their roots actually go all the way back to an island off the coast of Scotland, and legend has it that island was originally founded by Atlanteans.
That very well could be. And, you know, that's the thing. They found this place in Africa. We're going to change the channel, obviously. This place in Africa, and it's considered where Atlantis was, based on the description that was written by, hang on a second, I'll get his name again. I just lost it. Hi, the Greek dude, Homer. Wasn't it Homer that wrote about Atlantis?
Yeah, the Iliad and the Odyssey, right.
Mm-hmm. And he and the description, the rings around the city, and it's visible from the space station. You can see this place, and you can see where the tide had come in, and it's like you can see all the salts in there from the ocean where it had been flooded. It's an interesting thing. I've been looking at a lot of this. Thank you very much, Bill's Mafia. I appreciate that. Plato. Apparently
yes, Plato, right. You're talking pretty close to 600 BC. Was 400 BC?
I don't recall, to be honest with you. I've been studying a lot of Egyptian stuff, trying to get a fix on that timeline. That's fun because there's so much disinfo out there.
Yeah, very cool. So we have an interesting situation in, I was going to call it world government, let's put it that way. For the better part of 20 years, I'm going to say a good solid 12 years, NATO and the EU has kind of grown into a pan-European force. And they have not been defensive, they've been offensive. They have changed the regime in 56 different countries and I would call them governorships. And they redrew the globe several times. If you have an old globe, you'll know what I'm talking about. Blue countries and red countries and yellow countries and green countries all around. All those names changed, and got moved around. And just the way, Europe wanted it to happen. But it wasn't always Europe. They were all individual countries with individual languages and individual histories. Romania and Yugoslavia and Serbia, and they were all different things. Even Iran used to be called Persia. So all these names changed. But Russia has been around all through that. Over 1,000 years, Russia has been a sovereign country. And so they did not join the globalists. They didn't join the central bank. and they became kind of a thorn in the side of what I call the syndicate, the global syndicate, the globalists, the ones you see in Davos and Brussels, etc. On with the tuxedos and the scowls on their faces.
Right.
They kept moving their military closer and closer to Russian territory, and Russia, Putin's been in there for a long time, 20 years, and before that, even Brezhnev and Andropov and all of them were saying, look, you need to keep your military back away from this area. Just like we, the United States, we draw these red lines. Solomon Islands draw these red lines. Australia draws these red lines. New Zealand draws these red lines. And we say, China, you're not going here. You're not taking this island. That's well outside their jurisdiction. But they don't want that military presence creeping closer and closer where they can strike. So these other countries draw red lines, but they don't necessarily have the wherewithal to stand behind their red lines.
Right.
Russia does. So when they started building up their forces in what's known as the Donbass, and Luckee and I both know Russell Bentley, who is an American, a Texan, who fights on the Donbass defenders in Donbass, defending Ukrainians against Nazis. And I know it sounded really outlandish in those days, but after you see a few videos that he posted, pictures that he sent us, and interviews he's done on our other program, which is Quantum Connections, which, by the way, this is a special broadcast of Quantum Connections tonight, we began to believe it. So he let it go and let it go and let it go until March 23rd. They were planning on invading Crimea. They were going to take Crimea back by force. And Crimea doesn't really have the ability to defend itself, but it's the warm water port. It has a tremendous amount of shale gas and oil and all this stuff. They don't have the money to develop it. And the EU will not let them borrow the money from Russia. They're blocking all this. They sanctioned all this. So March 24th or 23rd, they were going to invade. So February 24th, which is not really the fighting season for this area of the country. It's still kind of a frozen wasteland. Putin says, okay, fine. We're going to go in and we're going to cut off these Nazis, and they're not going to invade Crimea. So that was Operation Z. That's why you see the Z on all the vehicles and all this stuff. So they went in, and I've talked about this often, but it's the most brilliant military move since maybe Alexander the Great. Just something that it's going to go down in history books. He forms this 40-mile-long convoy of vehicles heading for Kiev, and he stalls it. It's not a blitzkrieg. It's not moving, toward Kiev, but it's creeping toward Kiev. And what it draws the attention of the entire world at this, quote, inept column that just can't seem to get moving. All these old vehicles and rocket launchers and tanks and stuff. And what does Zelensky do? He does a big old fat line of coke, and he says, well, we're not going to let them take Kiev. We're going to pull the reinforcements back from our planned invasion of Crimea. We're going to pull them back to defend Kiev. So he pulls them back out of Donbass into the west to cover Kiev. And once those forces pull out of Donbass, Putin blows up all the railroads, all the bridges, and he blows the dam and allows the water to flow back to Crimea so they can have fresh water. And now the Nazis are all surrounded in Donbass. And they're just about toast. I'd say by the end of this month, it's going to be finished.
Well, here's the thing. So, all right, Russia pulled back from Kiev. They left Kiev, and they basically took Mariupol. They do have Mariupol now. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Let's see here. I'll get to Odessa in just a moment. But here's the thing. The United States, Blinken has just been saying that Russia is utterly failing in Ukraine. That Russia is at its end, it's gasping its last breath, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and
it's all propaganda.
Where the hell is...
And I'm wondering if he shared that cocaine that was on his desk with Blinken and Austin when they went to visit him. And by the way, I have my doubts, real serious doubts, that they went to Kiev. I think that meeting was in Poland.
I think so too. If not in the United States.
It could have been.
Oh, check this out. Department of Defense they admitted that they don't know where all those weapons are right now that they sent to Ukraine.
That's super scary. You know, we're talking about javelins, Stinger missiles.
These are super normal. It's super normal.
Oh, absolutely.
Let me say why. Think about it this way. When we were sending all those weapons to Afghanistan and Iraq and everything, and all that got disappeared. We know exactly what's going on. I think it's been rerouted to Pakistan, to be honest with you.
That's very frightening, because these are modern, expensive, high-tech weapons. Now, we might not see them surface this year, but they might surface 2 years or 3 years from now. You're going to see some commercial airliner shot down with a Stinger missile. And that Stinger missile came from Raytheon right here in this country. And it was Austin, and it will be Blinken who will have funneled these missiles and rockets straight into the black market.
Right. So here's the Ministry of Defense of Russia had revealed that the United States planned to exclude Russia from the UN. Now, this the United States intends to initiate the use of weapons of mass destruction and blame Russia for this in order to achieve the exclusion of the country from the UN Security Council. Now, they're staging the use of WMDs aimed at accusing Russia of using the prohibited types of weapons, followed by implementation of the so-called Syrian scenario, where the state is subject to economic and political isolation, as well as exclusion from international organizations, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So here's the thing. It's a rerun. As you can see, it's that new template being put into this situation. Swear up and down that there are all these weapons of mass destruction in this area where there's conflict, and then blame whoever the United States wants to blame for these weapons being used. Well, we've been sending weapons to Ukraine for a long time. Now, if we think about our history, just not too long ago, Libya, Syria, not Syria, excuse me, Iraq and Libya. We, the United States, for years had been sending weapons of mass destruction, illegal weapons. International law prohibited the use of a lot of these weapons, these chemical weapons, phosphorus weapons.
Cluster bombs and flechettes, which we used to use in Vietnam. These are rockets that contain thousands and thousands of little iron darts. They look like little darts with little flights on the back. When it blows up, these fly everywhere, and they just cut into the flesh. And they're anti-personnel weapons, and they're forbidden by the Geneva Convention. But I saw a handful of them.
Shipped all of these. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I saw a handful of them in someone's hand that they picked up off the ground after a Ukrainian attack.
U.S. flechettes?
Yes, U.S.-made flechettes, forbidden by the Geneva Convention, and they're over there, and they're being used by the Nazis against approaching troops and against civilians, because they pick these up off the street.
Holy crap. Okay, so here we got, like I said, it's a rerun. It's the same recipe being applied to Ukraine. The same thing we had accused Colonel Gaddafi of using weapons against his own citizens when it was not true. It was the United States weapons. He was stockpiling it for the United States in order to comply with their demands to keep us from sending missiles on his kids again. So he was behaving himself for a long time, and he was just taking all these stockpiles, French weapons, all kinds of things. Saddam Hussein had done the same thing. He was holding our weapons. So when the United States forces blew them up in Iraq, Saddam Hussein was blamed for the use of chemical weapons when it was actually the stockpiles that he was holding for the United States as agreed upon. They blew it up. And our troops got exposed to a lot of chemicals, and they had to, the United States blamed it all on Iraq and Saddam Hussein. So the same thing's going to happen here.
Well, I don't know. I mean, what we don't want to see is we don't want to see this escalate. We want it to wind down. We want the Nazis to be wiped out. And later on this summer, what we want to see are trainloads of construction equipment and materials come from all over the world into Ukraine and rebuild Mariupol. That's what we want to see. We don't want to see this war escalate. We want it to be this military operation to be over and the Nazis to be gone.
Right. And here's the thing. And like you said, trainloads of materials and supplies to rebuild the country. And not another dime going to it, because I am curious to know where the hell all this money is going. It's not on weapons.
Well, I don't know if
I think this is a huge money laundering operation going on right now.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the picture or not. Somebody standing over the left shoulder of Zelensky took a picture of him looking at his laptop at his desk. And there on the table next to his left hand is about a tablespoon of cocaine right there on the table.
3 lines all lined up, right?
Oh, it was just a bunch. I don't think he even bothered putting it in a line.
I thought it was a spoof. I thought I watched the video and I was like, this is a spoof. No way. Really? Oh my God, it's real.
Well, then he put out that video, I guess a week ago, before this cocaine showed up on his desk. And he was blazing. Whatever he was on, he was out of his mind. And he shot a video and posted it. What an idiot.
Well, no, if he's blazing it, think about it this way. Let's put yourself in his shoes for just a minute. Just a minute, And you've got this whole United States and European Union siding with you for a war that you necessarily didn't want, but you're in the middle of now, and you're the president. You got hooked up and you got hooked up into the presidency and everything. And you're facing Russia. I'd be blazing too if I had to face Russia. If I was being forced to face Russia, hell yeah, I'd be doing everything. I'm like, I'm gonna die. Okay. That kind of thing. Well, I mean, makes sense, right? Think about it. I mean, just think about it. Like I said, put yourself in his shoes for just a few minutes and get inside his head and say, holy crap, I am in way too deep. I've got the real Russian army. Putin, I am against Putin. I have to sit here and talk junk about Putin, about Russia, and I have to bolster the people here in Ukraine. I'd be blazing too. I'd be blazing outside my hot tub in Miami.
I wouldn't be there in Ukraine.
Right?
I want to remember his name here. He's a banker, and he should be in prison for embezzling money from his own depositors. But he embezzled about $5.5 billion from his bank. And he financed Zelensky's campaign and moved a little over $1 billion to Costa Rica in his name, and $500 million to Florida in his name. And allegedly, he has a $36 million mansion in Miami. And Zelensky is a second-rate comedian. He's a cross-dressing comedian that plays the piano on film with his penis. And this is the guy that's president of Ukraine right now. He wasn't elected. He was appointed. He was put in by Biden. Biden was president of Ukraine for a long, long time. While he was vice president, he was running Ukraine, and he made a trip every 3 months to Ukraine to make sure everything was going okay. And one of those trips, by the way, was right before his inauguration. Right before his inauguration, he went to Ukraine just to make sure everything was okay. Biden is up to his double earlobes, his imposter earlobes in Ukraine. And that's why he doesn't want all this brought out.
I think a lot more is brought out. I really think so. I think things are going to look up, and there's a little bit of hope right now with the recent developments. And that's a good thing. Because sometimes we just have to have a reason to work forward towards stuff, like for instance, a lot of people are not aware of this. About the watchdog group that sued the FEC over citizenship of a liberal donor, right?
No.
Did you hear about this?
No, fill me in.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so a watchdog group filed a lawsuit Monday to take action on a complaint against the Swiss billionaire who funneled money to Democratic causes. Americans for Public Trust filed the lawsuit in District Court, Washington, D.C., alleging the FEC has been slow to act on its May 2021 complaint against Hans-Georg Weiss, however you say his name. Anyway, the watchdog group cited various media interviews and government filing indicating that Weiss is not a citizen of the United States, which would make donating to political candidates for political action committees illegal. Americans for Public Trust is suing the FEC for failing to investigate the foreign money in our elections. Caitlin Sutherland, executive director for Americans for Public Trust, said in a statement to The Hill. Weiss, who's barred from directly or indirectly influencing our elections, has done just that by potentially funneling hundreds of millions of dollars through the Arabella Advisors Network to benefit liberal and left-wing causes. Until the FEC takes action, we won't know the full extent of his foreign interference in our electoral process. So they cited a 2021 Securities and Exchange Commission filing, which Weiss is listed his citizenship as a citizen of Switzerland, as well as a 2021 interview with Swiss news outlet Blick, to argue that Weiss can't donate to U.S. political candidates. The group also cited a 2014 speech in which he said that he only carries a Swiss passport, not a U.S. passport or green card. So he has used two nonprofit organizations, the Weiss Foundation and the Burger Action Fund, to contribute millions of dollars to 1630 Fund and the New Venture Fund, two so-called dark money groups that fund liberal causes through operations like the Hub Project and Demand Justice. Sounds familiar, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So basically, he violated federal law with his contributions, and the Hub Project, for example, ran ads directly targeting federal candidates. Weiss could run afoul of the law by contributing as a foreign national, the lawsuit alleges. So this is going to become hitting the courts soon. I think that we're going to see a turn in the nonsense that's going on. I'm not optimistic about this. I'm hopeful that things happen, but I'm not optimistic because this should have been shut down a long time ago.
Yeah.
Just like the pedophilia, just like the wokeness, just like the gender or transgender, whatever. All of this should have been nipped in the bud. You don't give the roaches the freedom to get into your house and just run amok for a few months or years. No, as soon as you see the first roach, you eliminate it and get it out of your house.
Sure. And, we go back just a few years when Dinesh D'Souza was making good money, and he had a friend that wanted to donate to a political candidate. And so Dinesh D'Souza loaned him the money to invest in his friend's campaign. Dinesh D'Souza was sentenced to 18 months in prison for this. He didn't serve the whole time, but he ended up in prison for it. Zuckerberg couldn't put over $400 million into the campaigns of Democrats in blue areas in key states where they wanted to win these elections to foster the cheat by mail system, and nothing happens to him. Nothing.
And be assured, folks, if you're listening, you need to be assured that this did happen. And these were grants. These were sent to these polling districts in the form of a grant. Okay. So if Zuckerberg granted you this money, you had to abide by the provisions given in that grant.
Right.
That means mail-in ballots. That meant all kinds of other sketchy stuff. Okay.
Well, Dinesh D'Souza's movie called 2,000 Mules is about to air, and he'll do it the way he's been doing it. If you want to air a movie in the United States, you have to have distribution. Distribution goes through brokers that control theaters. And most of the theaters right now in the United States are controlled by the Chinese. A lot of people don't know that, but like AMC theaters and most of the Sony theaters, they're all controlled by the Chinese. So it is expensive to get a documentary into these theaters. But Dinesh D'Souza is doing it, and when that movie comes out, I'd highly recommend people to go watch it. I guarantee you're going to sit in a packed theater because he's a very, very good documentarian. But this movie is about these drop boxes and video proof that millions of ballots, millions of fake ballots. How do you know you're fake? Because the camera that watches each of these drop boxes, that's how the mules are paid, by the way. They show up on camera, and that's how they get their check. One woman shows up. She walks from her car to the ballot drop box, realizes that none of the ballots in her hands are signed. So she goes back to her car, sits in the passenger side of the front of the car, and takes a pen and signs all the ballots. And then she opens the door, walks back to the drop box, and puts them in. It's all on film, people.
Wow. That's bad. There's all kinds of other shenanigans going on, too. Like, for instance, these ballot boxes that registered only 200 and some odd people showing up there and dropping ballots off, dropping off their votes. But there were thousands of ballots in there.
That's crazy, isn't it? Oh my gosh. It's just,
oh my God.
And when you see President Trump is on 60 Minutes, and you see the woman who's interviewing him, I don't want to mention her name on this program, but she says, well, there's no evidence of fraud. And he goes, sure there is. It's everywhere. It's all over the place. This is a major news organization that's saying there's no evidence of fraud. And we have, me and 500,000 of my friends went to Washington, D.C. on January 6th, 2021, and a lot of us took a little more liberty. We were invited into the Capitol building, and they walked around, took selfies, and took pictures of each other. And they ended up in a 19th century dungeon in D.C., where they are to this day. And they have an ongoing trial to try to keep candidates, well, not candidates, but members of Congress off the ballot for 2022 for being involved, or at least being sympathizers with the Americans that went to D.C. to protest the stolen election.
When that stuff comes out, and the thing is that after the New York Post will be reinstated on Twitter, they'll be able to get the word out again. And, and that's the thing, that's electioneering also, just so everybody knows. This is this thing about Twitter and Facebook, both, the oppression of any story that any, we would be just as outraged if a liberal media post was squashed and also censored by these social media posts.
Sure.
If these stories were, and to be honest with you, yeah, we did. I think you and I talked about this years ago, about a story that was posted on CNN, and they got censored. These journalists got censored because they were exposing how something about the school systems and the children in the school systems, and I think it had to do with medical stuff too. Not sure exactly what it was, but they had a huge story. And these particular journalists, they got censored by their own station. They got censored by everybody. And we were just as outraged for them.
Yeah.
As we are for any conservative. So please understand, folks, we are not just, pro-conservative, personalities. No, it's everybody has a voice. Doesn't mean we have to listen to it, but everybody gets to have a voice. And now that Twitter is going to be in a private, this kind of bothers me, okay, that this is now a private venue. That's why I'm bothered by it. If it was public, no problem. But it's no longer going to be public. It's going to be privatized. And that's where we have a problem with censorship in its real form. That's where censorship is going to take place. And it can take place. Being that it was open and being censored is why we had such problems with it, because it was supposed to be open and everybody had a voice.
Yeah, the chat room's just rolling. Can Captain Super AIDS says, the NSA is collecting data on every call, every packet of data entering the U.S. from outside it, yet it can't identify the blatant and massive fraud that occurred in 2020. We all know what happens to whistleblowers thanks to Assange. I guess that's the holdup.
Wow. Well said. Well said.
Yeah, it's something that, we're passionate about because we believe in our heart of hearts that if everyone is allowed to say freely, we think we can win in the theater of ideas. We think that our ideas of freedom and liberty, of representation for all voters, of every class, of every color, we think that's the stronger position. We don't think that, I don't believe that you can form a minority by having sex with somebody. I just don't think you can. I think we are all Americans and we have our voice, but at the end of the day, it is the election, it is the law that is our king. And I don't think many Americans feel like that right now. I think that they feel the same way I do, that there is no equal justice under the law. There's special justice under the law, and we don't like it.
Right. If people are disenchanted with the way, what they think is supposed to be the law. It's not the law because it hasn't been equally applied. That would be justice. Okay. The law equally applied is justice. And what did you say about that? Justice denied?
War is justice denied. I in my book, Remembering the Future, I talk about a cycle of humanity. It goes like mercy, peace, justice, war. It's a cycle that goes around through history. We have peace, we have mercy because we have a terrible situation, either a cataclysm or a war or whatever. We call for mercy, and after the mercy is granted, we have peace. And in that peaceful situation, we no longer have, armies marching and bombs dropping. We have peace. 2% of any society will spontaneously and perpetually commit crime. They enjoy it. They like larceny. They like rape. They like beating up other people. They like killing other people. And so what societies have always done is they've taken these 2% and they have incarcerated them. They've taken them out of society. You used to ship them down to Australia, but that didn't work out so well. We take them out of society to protect society. So people can walk down the streets, they can open their stores, they can have their kids walk to school, and they do so without fear. That's if justice is served. When justice stops working, the people then call for war. And then war sets the record straight again. All the bad people are involved in a war, and hopefully we defeat them and they don't take us over. And at the end of that, after all the killing, all the windows are blown out, all the bodies are laying in the streets, we again call for mercy, and the cycle starts over again. How it stops is with free press. It starts with free speech. That's how you break the cycle. Because it's at that point that politicians, and specifically we're talking about local politicians, when that corruption is exposed, the people can then administer justice. Judges can be impeached. Governors can be thrown out of office and recalled. Police can be fired. But that only happens if we have free speech. Once the speech is suppressed, once the propaganda begins gaining momentum and people that speak out against it are incarcerated or killed or sued into oblivion, then you're marching toward war. And I think that's where we are. We're marching, 400 wide to war right now.
Yes, we are. And it's not going to be civil. There's nothing civil about war. There's nothing, just like there's nothing friendly about fire. So here's the thing. Okay, so we got to think of what we're going to do. What is the responsibility of each individual? And I've said this before, and perhaps I'll take that opportunity. What we need to do here You're at your desk, you're on your couch, you're listening. If you're in your car listening, don't worry about it. But if you're just at your desk and you've got a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen, start writing down names of those in your area that have been violating your laws and violating your Bill of Rights, all the Bill of Rights of Americans. Okay, so you've got a local representative and they're all about the vaccines and they're all about the masks and they're fighting like mad to get those things on you. And you know that it's not going to help. Write their name down, what they did when they did it. Okay. And you need to make this list. Got to do this because you have to act locally first. Think globally, but act locally.
Correct.
This goes for everybody around the world, no matter what country you're in and you're listening to this program. This goes for you too. Okay.
Truth is the Light in the chat room says, my governor's wife got a no-bid contract to test for COVID. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Look at Nancy Pelosi's husband. Look at Dianne Feinstein's husband. Look at the money these people have made off of no-bid contracts. Wife? Yeah, exactly.
I'm not saying she made a lot of money. What I will tell you is that she was part of the oppression over what was that starlet's name who started the hashtag Me Too movement. I had her name the other day. Trying to remember her name. Rose McGowan. Okay, who had done the whistleblowing of what was going on in Hollywood.
Yeah,
it
with
was
Harvey
Governor
Weinstein.
Newsom's wife that called and threatened her. Huh?
With Harvey Weinstein.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so she was a whistleblower. Now, and we can't let this night go by without us discussing what's going on at Disney, right?
Yeah. You see the memes out there with Minnie and Mickey in a trash can? It's bad. It's bad. And I will tell you, listeners, Earth Explorers and Quantum Connection listeners, if you really want to take your family someplace this summer that's family-oriented, that's fun, it's way cheaper than Disney, and you'll have a lot more fun, go to Dollywood. Go to Dollywood in Pigeon Forge. You'll love it. You'll absolutely love it. Lots of stuff for kids.
Just, you know what she does with all that money that she makes? You know what Dolly Parton does with all that money?
She donates it and she creates all kinds of charities for people.
Not just charities, but she also makes sure that there's libraries and tons of books and educational materials for the poor.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And it's one fee. Once you go in the door, all the rides are free.
Oh, really?
Yeah. All the rides you can ride it as often as you want. And there's tons of stuff for little kids. And the music is everywhere. If you like country, if you like bluegrass, if you like old-time rock and roll, 50s music, it's all there. Bands playing all over the place. It's all free.
There you go. See? There's wholesomeness to be found in places that are fun for your children, to be found outside of Disney.
Brad M.
I'm not into
Brad M says, "Hello, Luckee One." He's in YouTube.
Hi. Where has he been? I've missed him. Okay.
So we have tweets coming in or chats coming in from Rockfin and YouTube and Twitch. I don't get the ones from Rumble. Rumble doesn't feed out the chats yet, but they're going to get there.
Okay. Well, I want to say hi to everybody, and I want to say thank you so much, Brooks, for having me on your platforms. I really do appreciate this. We're looking for, there's some of us that are looking for alternative methods of broadcasting. And I can't tell everything we're doing yet because I don't want somebody to jumpstart us. I don't want to get jump started on this. So, but yeah, like right now we are being broadcast on my chat that I have personally set up in Element. So, yeah, just so you know, you kind of snagged your link there, and we're just
that's okay. That's okay. We got Sherry Pittsburgh. We have Curtis Cross. We have Shepherding Shepherd. in Foxhole. Foxhole's another venue run by Pilled, which is another social network out there. They have a fantastic platform. And they also picked up on the fact that Dolly Parton provides the books. And Curtis Cross says, I think Trump still in respect control the U.S. military.
I don't know. And I'll tell you why I'm not sure on that. I would like to believe that. I would like to believe that my brethren in the Marine Corps are still pro-Trump. Okay. I can't believe it entirely because if you recall, January 6th, there was a lot of people that was forced out of the military because they were pro-Trump. They were denied their assignments. And then right on the heels of that, the vaccines were mandated. And there were there's still lawsuits from SEALs who are rejecting the vaccines.
Right.
They don't want to take them. And that's the thing. No, having been in the military, those of you who were in the military probably remember this, and you had to take these vaccines. Some people had bad reactions.
Oh, yeah.
I'm one of them. I almost died because they gave me the plague serum. And this was back in the 80s, almost at 60s. Oh, my God. No, the plague serum was back in the 80s, and they gave me that. Damn near killed me. Okay. And then I found out later from another military doctor who was really good. He read through my whole record book. He read every page. You know how rare that is, right? But he read through every page. He said, what are they still doing the plague serum? That was banned years ago. I'm like, oh, what? So, yeah, I had a really good doctor, and he was exposing. He basically gave me enough heavy hints to let me know not to trust the medical industry that's going on in the military. Like, for instance, that there was a doctor who had done an exploratory surgery on me who had lost his license. And he wasn't supposed to be practicing medicine, but he was down there at Navy Hospital, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, still doing surgery.
Wow.
You know, we are, military personnel we as civilians are supposed to protect military personnel, focused on defending the country, learning survival and combat scenarios so that they can protect our country. We need to protect them.
Yeah.
All the different politicians that we have going into office, because these guys can't do the voting. They can't protect. For instance, when I was deployed to Norway in '86, when I got back, I was no longer allowed to drink. Okay.
They changed the drinking age.
What were you civilians doing back here? Huh?
They changed the drinking age.
Yeah. I was out of the country. I was 19 when I left. No, I was 20 when I left. When I got back, I could not. I couldn't. And making sure that we're not going to get screwed over. It's gun, defend my country, but I'm not allowed to have a flipping beer. Are you flipping kidding me?
Yeah.
Anyway, those of you in the military, I really feel you. Okay, I really feel you. Anyway, I didn't mean to go on and on and on. I want to get into something that we did not get to discuss about Russia and Ukraine. So the Ministry of Defense in Russia also, they said that Russia also of Western weapons in Odessa. Okay. Now, those of you, I took down the map of Ukraine from behind me on the green screen thing. The thing is, okay, so Mariupol, let's go to, okay, Donetsk and Lugansk is over here on Ukraine. Say Ukraine is right here. Lugansk and Donetsk, Mariupol. Down below on the sea is Armenia, not Armenia. I'm sorry, I just went blank. Crimea.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, they say Krim. Okay. Krim.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's why I had that issue here. And then across that, and underneath Ukraine is Odessa. Okay. So Russian aerospace forces destroyed a large batch of airfield near Odessa with a strike of high precision missiles. It was reported on the official Telegram channel of the Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation. So they said that there was a large batch of foreign weapons received from the United States and Europe. During the day, 22 Ukrainian military facilities were hit by high-precision air-launched missiles from the Russian aerospace forces. According to the day, nationalists lost up to 200 personnel and more than 30 armored vehicles and 3 weapons depots were destroyed. So, okay, so that's the normal closing there. Another thing that Russia has done, and this is something, we all have Windows and Apple pretty much. The smartest of us are going to Linux and open source.
Right,
okay?
right.
Russian government had abandoned Windows and instead opted for Linux. That was back in 2016. 22,000 Russian government agencies and municipalities ready to make the switch from Windows to Linux, according to Putin's top internet advisor back then. So this was printed back in 2016. So the thing is the reason why you want Linux is because it's not, your programs are not so bloated. Inter-application issues with Linux because it's not taking so much bloated space. A patch update on Microsoft can ruin you for get on any other platform like Skype, okay, or YouTube, because it's all owned by the same corporations, but they're not updating right. And so they have these different patches all over the place, but none of them are working with each other. So I'm recommending people start learning about Linux. It's not hard, believe me, guys. Okay, it is not hard at all. It looks scary because it's different, but it's very clean.
I can't do anything with it.
Well, yeah, I have to show you because it's really easy. Brooks, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Believe me, I'm not a computer guru. I am not a computer genius at all. Okay, I don't know how to code. I have to ask for help for everything. Hang on a second here.
Everybody in my neighborhood's turning their Netflix on right now, so the web's slowing down a little bit.
Oh, I was going to say, why? What's on Netflix? What's going on there?
Well, it could be Netflix or Roku or Hulu or I don't know, but just everybody in my neighborhood about 8 o'clock at night, they turn on their streaming, and got about 255 houses in this neighborhood, and it just slows down.
Mm-hmm. Right. I can see. Well, I can understand that. See, I have very few neighbors, but I don't have the high-speed internet that everybody else has in the country because I got CenturyLink. Anyway, I'm not going there. But the thing is, I'm getting rid of my TV again. Okay. Getting rid of the TV, getting rid of the couch. I learned something about patterns today.
Ah.
Okay? Yep, patterns. You gotta watch this stuff. Okay. So in my case, it's the TV and the couch. I am far more productive if I don't have a couch. If I get a couch, I'm gonna sit on it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when the last time was I sat on a couch. I think it's probably been 5 years since I sat on a couch.
I'm serious. There is something to it. But all my life, childhood and adult, I usually sit on the floor on sitting pillows. Okay. Here, in this last year, 2 years ago, maybe, I bought a couch, a big old couch. And it was nice. It's cozy, comfortable, and everything like that. And I will sit on that thing. Okay. And I'm not productive anymore. I'm not studying very much. I mean, my posture has, it's suffered for it. And in addition to that, because my mom got mad at me because I'm not watching the news, she bought me a TV. I told her I was not paying for a TV. That was all there is to it. I am not buying a TV. No. And so she said, I'll go get it for you. So off to Costco we went, and she bought me a flat screen TV, which is a great TV. But I don't watch TV as in like local stuff. I do watch Netflix, and I have, I do have a password where I can watch different series and movies and things like that. No advertisements, but that's all I watch is just a different entertainment that way.
Yeah, you don't need a couch to do that. You just need an office chair.
I've got an office chair right here. Why am I not? Why do I need that thing going?
Yeah, exactly.
I think what I'll do is I'll just set that up to YouTube and use it for exercises or learning new things. But that's a pattern. So I tend to falter if there's TVs in my house or something like that, and that means all throughout my adulthood, various environments and things like that. I've moved around a lot, but I want to go into the patterns, life patterns. And I took notes on this because it's like something that just hit me today. Somebody had given me some information about their life. But anyway, strange how one person keeps winning the lottery. Have you ever seen those people? You've probably seen them in different stories where somebody has won the lottery 5 times.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the mega millions. I'm not talking about that, but won the lottery, like $1 million here, $1 million there, maybe $500,000 in another one.
Goodness.
But this one person, they will continuously win the lottery. So what is their life pattern like? So obviously there is a life pattern. There is a signature in the frequency that's going on there. Here's another one. The driver who keeps getting into horrific car wrecks. I mean, not their own fault, but horrific car wrecks that totals the car, and it's a very violent wreck, but never gets hurt and walks away.
Oh.
Multiple times. People are like, oh, they're so lucky, or what is it, but no, the question is why do these wrecks happen to them? I'm not saying that he's lucky because he got out of the truck or the car and walked away. So what's going on in the environment? What is that signature thing? Is there a program or something in our life, in the matrix, if you will, that's focusing on to have this happen to them? You've been in a wreck. You know how unreal it was when it happened. You remember that, don't you?
I don't remember a thing.
Oh, really? Wait a minute.
I woke up in the MRI.
Hitting you?
Well, I remember seeing her approach my motorcycle at about 25 miles an hour from the right side. She came out of a apartment complex talking on a cell phone. La, 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 la. And I was hitting the gas as hard as I could to try to get out from in front of her. And I looked down into her windshield, and she looked up from her cell phone right at me and never touched the brakes. And she caught my bike right at the crash bar, and it folded the crash bar over on my leg. I smashed the gas tank flat between my knees. I didn't break any bones, but that's the last thing I remember. And I never felt the impact. I felt a bump, and that was it. I was out. And, the cop brought me back on my back on the street and took my helmet off. And I looked up at him and said, that was easy.
Good. Well, tell everybody what you're talking about.
Well,
you died, right?
Yeah. You die for however many seconds I was out. And, he bounced on my chest a few times and got me back. And I woke up again. I don't remember the ambulance ride at all. I woke up in the MRI, looking up at the thing going overhead. And, it took a year to recover from it. And there was, a lot of discomfort, a lot of bleeding. I bled for 11, 12 months after that.
Oh my God.
Big holes that just have to heal up on their own, and they weep and bleed every day. So it takes a while to recover from something like that.
Dang.
Now you can barely see. You can barely see a scar on me now.
And see, that's another. You don't have scars, right?
No.
You've had major things happen in your life, but you don't have the scars for it. Or if you do, they're so faint. There's some people that scratch themselves with their exuberant on a mosquito or something. They'll have a scar for the rest of their life. But you don't have anything that's dark like so here's one I call the Elon Factor. While being the richest person, of course, we all know how he did so by not inventing, buying in, and controlling a company to succeed. But keep this in mind. He's got the humble factor because he doesn't have a house. He doesn't have a house. He does have a plane, but he couch surfs right now. He doesn't have his own house. He doesn't have all the accoutrements of the billionaire class, right? I had seen this one talk that he had done, and they had everything ready for him to receive him and everything like that. And for some reason, he could not get there in time. And everybody had eaten all the food, and he had no food. Somebody went out and got a plate of fruit and cheese for him so that he can eat while he was giving the talk because he was that hungry. That's a humility. And don't get me wrong, I'm not all pro Elon or anything, guys. I'm just trying to show the patterns here. So that's a semblance of a pattern there, in that he hasn't invented anything. He just walks into a system or a business and takes it over and brings it and propels it to new heights. Right?
Yeah, I do that, but I don't own stock in the companies.
Well, yeah, that's true. You know what? Hey, dude. Anyway, but speaking of which, this ties into you too. I just realized the inventor that ends up penniless because the tech is stolen or promised funds are pulled. And I wasn't thinking of you necessarily, Brooks. I was just, which is really funny. I was thinking more of Tesla.
Oh yeah, Nikola Tesla, right?
Right. But in your case too, all these different inventions that you've done and patented, that you've never realized the financial windfall from that.
Well, never's a bold word, but I haven't yet. You're right. I have not.
Yeah. Okay. Let me you're right. You're absolutely right. And thank you for correcting me on that. I said never. You haven't yet realized the money's from that. But so you're pretty much like Tesla in that. So here's my challenge to everybody, because I had to do that today. I mean, that was some weighty thought processes that hit me. Is what are your life patterns? Do you get sick every time you reach your second anniversary? If you have multiple marriages on your second anniversary, do you get sick for some reason or another?
No, I can't. Well,
I'm not asking you. I'm asking the people out there. I'm saying, I'm just trying to establish, trying to give example of patterns. It's happening, and I bet you everybody has a distinctive pattern unique to themselves.
Yeah.
I'm betting.
Yeah, I get that. People are responsible for their own life condition, whether they want to believe that or not. They are, and they set up windfalls of success and cataclysms of failure by their own actions over time. It sets up resonant energy that when this comes around and has a lot of resonant power behind it, it could be very positive. It could also be very negative.
Or like the person who's about to reach their pinnacle of success, they're about to reach their breakthrough, and they sabotage themselves for some reason.
Yeah, get a DUI, celebrating that they're about to get the big check.
Something like football. This phenomenon. It was the Jaguars between the Panthers. Do you remember when they first came out? They were constantly getting to the playoffs, and they were doing awesome, and then they totally blew it.
Yep.
Remember that?
Yep, but we all know why. It's because they let the cheerleaders put the uniforms on, and the football players don't come to the game.
Dude, I was not going there. So that's my challenge to everybody is, what is your pattern? Identify it. Take a look at it. See what's going on there. And you can make changes appropriately, or identify. It's kind of like it's a very convoluted thought loop. There was this series called Lucifer on Netflix, right? And hell is the thought loops. You get stuck in those loops, or hell loop as they called it. And The same thing happens all the time, and you have to dig in to find out what you're guilty of and deal with that guilt and overcome that guilt. And then after that, after you do that first thing, whatever killed you, if you will, you have to dig in and find what you're really feeling guilty about. And you have to dig in and dig in and dig in. And once you overcome all the guilt, you leave hell.
Oh, that's cool.
Oppressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and I don't know what religion, what sect, or whatever have you that came from, but I like the message in that, But anyway, so the thing is recognize a pattern. Anybody who's watched the Lucifer series knows what I'm talking about. That one fellow who kept on doing all these crazy, zany robberies and stupid things like that. He ends up in hell, and so he's going through this loop where he's having a great time on his boat. He's made his way. He's got his stuff. He's happy, partying, and some guy comes in and shoots him in the face and kills him.
Wow.
And that loop keeps happening. So he wakes up from it, and he's on that boat again, and he's changing clothes so he can get into the pool with the bays, and this guy comes in and shoots him. So Lucifer doesn't help him necessarily, but says you need to go into where you're really guilty. And so they show up at the guy's parents' house from years before this killing had happened. And he is afraid to go into the house. And he never goes in. That's how long he stays in hell, until he finally gets the courage to go into the house.
I see.
Once that happens, he goes to heaven. Anyway, so what is your pattern? Good or bad? What is your pattern? And learn from that.
By the way, Loyal to the Foil is in the house. She's in the chat room in Foxhole. So happy to see you here. Happy to see everybody. Oh, the chat room is just rolling. Russian Asset is another person in the chat room. Let's see.
Better than a Russian liability.
Yeah. Mad Pogue is out there. Hitman, do the cheerleaders have bills? Yes.
Have bills?
I think they do. Yeah. Yeah, that's what happened. But at halftime, they would go in at halftime, they would swap uniforms, and the cheerleaders would come out and couldn't complete a pass, couldn't get a first down, and couldn't kick a field goal if their life depended on it.
That's funny. I do want to say shout out to the chat room on TFR. That would be Bam, Mark Gallagher, Dramatic Mind, Joyful Traveler, and Timid Habitant. What is wrong with me? I totally stuttered that one.
They bunch all the words together sometimes. Yeah, we're happy the chat room is here. We've streamed now for an hour and a half, no break. No commercial, so just straight through. Every Monday we do 2 hours, and every Wednesday we do 1 hour together, and then I go to another network for another obligation. But this is the first time that we've done this video platform, so I would like the chat room to respond. Do you like this platform for Quantum Connections? We're going to try to continue to work with Truth Frequency. Truth Frequency goes out to a service called TalkStream Live, which is the main brokerage house for all the podcasters. Blaze TV goes out through there. Revolution Radio goes out through there. All the big networks go out through there. And actually, TFR is in the top 10 of those networks that go out to TalkStream Live. But it is a purely audio feed. People listen to it on their phones and in their cars. But this is a video platform, and it's much more interactive. And I just wanted to, so Can Super AIDS says, this is great. Your interactions help you play to each other's strengths. Bill's Mafia says, foil is how I discovered Brooks. See, that's it. I am loyal to the foil. So, yes, they're good people. They live down in Greenville, Spartanburg area. Her and I'm trying to remember the other one. 1 Foot in 5D. So those are two hosts that work down there, and there's some other small podcasters down there too. And I go down there from time to time, meet with them, and encourage them, and give them equipment, and just I like to see.
How about we have them on one night?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. They do come on. They do great video feeds. They're both cute as hell, and they're just great, intelligent people, and we have a lot of fun on the video formats.
Okay, we can do that. I have to grow, so stop with just the radio and just get on video. So
you're doing fine. You're doing great. Justin Good Earth is out there. He says, I like the video platforms. He prefers Rumble, but YouTube has more in the chat. That's true. Rumble is coming along on the chat. They're still working on it. They grew way faster than they wanted to grow, and they just don't have the resources to get the chat going, but they're working on it. And Original Old Dog, who is a person that I met at a conference, actually, and we've just stayed in touch, from city to city and conference to conference, and he's a tremendous asset. And by the way, he says, I discovered Loyal through Brooks. So see how that works? Is cross-pollination works very, very well. And Wrecking Ball 1776 is out there.
I do want to do another, news story. FBI warns of cyber attacks on food plants. Talking about missing the freaking bus. Okay. I bear with me.
Well,
okay.
I remember, what was it? Was it Smithfield? A couple years ago, the Smithfield plant up in the Midwest got cyber attacked, and they said they had a bunch of illegals working there, but that's beside the point. They got cyber attacked, and it interrupted the processing of beef and bacon. A lot of people eat Smithfield bacon. We have, I looked it up, a little over 31,000 food and beverage processing plants in the United States. That's a lot.
Are you referring to the fires lately?
No, I was referring in that respect to the cyber attacks, but there have been 26 explosions, and some of them are kind of weird, like 2 different plants, 2 different days, 2 different airplanes crashed into these plants.
Right. Okay. So what happened? And please, folks, if you're sharing this stuff on Twitter and or Facebook, please get your facts right. Okay. The meme that's going around saying that for the past 2 weeks we've had a rash. All these plants, food plants, have been burnt by fire. Don't share that tweet, and I'll tell you, or that meme. Okay, because I had my very sister. I love my sister to death, and when I saw that list and it was only in the past 2 weeks, I had to check on it. And I'm echoing again. I had to check on that because I know how Facebook, I'm going to be on the bottom of the news feed on Facebook until 2060. Okay. Because they keep on saying that they're fact checkers, this and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so they put you at the bottom of the news feed as if, they get to call me a liar or something, but that's okay. I'll take care of them in the future. Anyway, so I had checked on it and all the dates and everything else. Like, okay, so just to be clear, these particular ones burned in 2021. These burned in the first part of this year of 2022. Past 2 weeks involved these over here. These plants and of course, that's me being nitpicky, right? That's what I'm being accused of being nitpicky. No, it's just I'm tired of sharing a meme and getting slammed for it by Facebook. That's what, that's what it is. And that way, there's the facts, I did our own fact checking on it. But anyway, so these, so now the FBI is warning of targeted cyber attacks on food plants after a mysterious rash of fires. I think they're not looking at this right.
Well, anyway, I think they're trying to stir up paranoia. They're trying to get people to think that there's going to be a massive food shortage. I challenge pretty much anybody in the country to go to your local grocery and find empty shelves. You're not going to find it in the US of A.
There's some. There are some that have empty shelves, but that's not okay. But I have noticed, like, for instance, in Food City, there is it's a membership, savings store, if you will. And they used to have these pick 5 for 20 or pick 5 for 19.99. And they used to have a whole bunch of food that you could pick. You can get chicken breasts, just a package of chicken breasts. You can get a package of stew meat, some ground beef. You can get bacon, whatnot, all kinds of different stuff, pork and everything. Now you look at it, used to take a whole fixture full of meat, right? All these different varieties. Now you've got about this much space and there's very little.
Yeah, that's
choice.
true. That's true. I go to mostly Harris Teeter and Publix. Those are two groceries that are within a third of a mile of me. And you're right. The meat sections are a little skimpy. They have cuts, but they don't have like 30 strip steaks. They have like 6 strip steaks.
Right. So the thing is that this is my stake on this. Okay, as much as possible, grow your own food. As much as possible, buy local and buy from your neighbors. Okay. If you're in the cities, yeah, I get it. You have to go to different stores to save as much money as possible. Take advantage of the produce giveaways. You can look them up. What was it? I can't remember the name of the place now, but just look up your food giveaways, your food banks and stuff. You don't have to always register there. Sometimes you have churches that are just giving away all like 50-pound boxes of food. Okay. Take advantage of that, especially if it's produce, and freeze it, blanch it, freeze it. If it's corn, green beans, whatnot, blanch it, freeze it. If you don't have a vacuum pack or a dehydrator or a freeze dryer. If you have a freeze dryer, you know what to do already. Teach others. Okay. Same thing with the vacuum packing. Teach others how to do that too. In addition, so the meats, your local butchers, do what you can to find meats locally that's fresh cut. It's going to taste a whole lot better anyway. So anyway, the point is, where I was going with this is that now there is the FBI coming to say, be warned about the ransomware actors who may be more likely to attack agricultural cooperatives during critical planting and harvest seasons, disrupting operations, causing financial loss, and negatively impacting the food supply chain. The notice reads, adding 2021 and early 2022, ransomware attacks on farming co-ops could affect the current planting season by disrupting the supply of seeds and fertilizer. Okay, first off, if you're in the farming area, you're already going to know where to get seeds and fertilizer that does not have to do with the food that's going to have anything to do with your hackers. You probably already put your seeds aside last year.
And, thanks to the pandemic, a lot of people took advantage of this, and there are companies, small companies that started up that are doing farm direct food. So you can get weekly meals. They're a little expensive, $100, $150 a week. That can add up in a hurry. There's another one called Moink Box, MOINK box.com. I'll put the link in the chat. It is farm fresh meat direct to consumer. So, and it's all grass fed and finished too. These aren't corn fed, and this isn't big ag processed food. This is from a small organization. It was started by a farmer named Lucinda, 8th generation farmer, and she found that her farmer friends could not get their stuff to the consumer because the pandemic had locked up the system to favor only the big processors. So she formed moinkbox.com, and for $159 a month, you get all the meat you can eat. I have to give some away each month, but everything from burger to steaks to chops to salmon, it's great, and it's all high quality stuff.
So it's not just beef.
No. Wild caught salmon. They're not farmed salmon, and it's grass fed and grass finished beef. and pork. So you don't get corn fed, which can have, stuff like E. coli and stuff in it. This is all, direct from the farm to the consumer. It comes once a month.
Oh, that's awesome.
In dry ice.
I love grass-fed. I love grass-fed beef.
Yeah.
It's really
good.
It reminds me of when I was a child living on a ranch. We had grass-fed beef. That's what they eat.
Yeah.
I had never in my life seen a cow walk up to corn stalk and eat the corn or the green from the corn. Nothing. They never went near it.
Right.
They ate grass.
Yeah. Silage is not natural for cows.
Right. So I recommend everybody try to get as much as possible, get onto the grass-fed. And the thing is make the market require the farmers and cattle ranches to only have grass-fed beef. I mean, it's customer demand. That's how we have to control this. We have to get the control back into our own hands by, supporting only those businesses that provide good, healthy, wholesome food.
And by the way, speaking of healthy, and I get it, Wrecking Ball 1776, he's trying to correct me saying it's called the plandemic. I call it the panicdemic because what they really did is market the panic. But, and then they also blocked many of the things that were coming out that were helping with the various viruses that they were marketing. So if you need to get Ivan and Roxy, and you know what I'm talking about, I can't say it on the air because YouTube's with us. Ivan and Roxy you can get without a prescription at my website. Just go to my website, brooksagnew.com, brooksagnew.com. Click on the store link, and it's right there near the top under the red line. It's a therapeutics button. You click on that. You don't have to be sick. You don't need a prescription. You can get Ivan and Roxy for yourself and put it in your own arsenal and protect yourself.
Do it. I use it when I'm feeling ill and I feel like the crud is coming. I pop it. So it works for me. Let's say it that way. That's all I'm going to say. We're pretty safe on that, right?
Yep. Now I got knocked off for about 9 weeks off of YouTube for mentioning it one time, so I have to be careful now. Google,
did I say it tonight?
Google routinely violates our civil rights by censoring us, so we have to be very careful what we say.
Okay, so let's see here. Operation Thermostat. Have you heard of it?
No, what is that?
Energy rationing and the pivot from the Ukraine to the climate. Italy is officially becoming the first country to start rationing energy after cutting their supply of Russian gas and oil.
Oh, right. It's not for climate change. It's for Russia change. I get it. Okay.
Right. From next month until at least March 20th, public buildings across the nation will be banned from running air conditioning at lower than 25 degrees Celsius or heating higher than 19 degrees Celsius. Plan termed Operation Thermostat in the press is being sold as a way for ordinary people to show solidarity with the people of Ukraine, with Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi saying, do we want to have peace or do we want to have the air conditioning on? I'm not exactly sure how adjusting your thermostat is going to achieve peace, but hey, we're living in the age of sentimental manipulation over reason. So just believe. Not exactly. So, for example, The Guardian is still illustrating the story with pro-peace artwork allegedly done by Italian school children in English for some reason. There's no talk yet of this kind of energy rationing rule extending to private businesses or homes, but a marker's been set down. Expect other nations to follow suit. After that, of course, will come the opinion pieces asking questions like, we rationed gas to fight Putin. Why not climate change? And headlines that say Europe-wide gas rationing was good for the planet or something like that. So the thing is if Earth Day is coming up, or was it today's Earth Day, isn't it? Or was it a few days ago?
Anyway, it was really recent. Yeah, Earth Day, because I remember all the Earthers were out there protesting.
You know what I did on Earth Day, I think? I think what I did on Earth Day was grounded myself out in the yard and just laid down in the grass. That's Earth Day for me.
I broke out my Russian cognac. It was really good.
Yeah. Nice. So it argues that rationing energy to fight Putin is just like digging for victory to fight Hitler, and just as predicted, would also be good for the planet. So during the Second World War, victory demanded more oil. In the war's dominating globe today, Putin's land grab in Ukraine, and the global land grab caused by rising sea levels and spreading deserts, victory demands getting off fossil fuels as fast as we possibly can.
I'm
It even
laughing.
hints at quasi-lockdown, this time for the sake of beating Putin and combating climate change. Everyone who can work from home could continue to do so, at least on, say, Mondays, knocking a day off the national commute. Carpools could be organized, taking special advantage of the fact that there are now 2 million electric cars on the road. More bike paths can be made available. And when air conditioning season begins, Americans can turn their thermostats up a degree. Remember, lockdowns were marketed as planet-saving almost from the very moment they were put in place, despite it making zero sense. The agenda was pretty obvious from the start. Interesting that Operation Thermostat should be announced on April 22nd. There it is, Earth Day, despite having zero to do with climate change. It's also noteworthy that climate change protest groups have piggybacked on the idea to call for an EU-wide boycott of Russia's fossil fuels. We already know they plan to pivot from COVID to climate, and moves like this mean they can easily pivot from Ukraine to climate also. So yeah, we're being just manipulated and just shoveled a whole bunch of BS. Now, how's that for some climate change?
Wow. But, I think it's inflation that's going to cause people to cut back on those thermostats. And, I'm riding my motorcycle more and more because it gets 45 miles to the gallon as opposed to 21 miles per gallon like my truck. And it just makes the dollar go a little bit further. But utilities, they're very slow to go up because you almost have to get a municipal law change in order to raise your utilities. They're regulated by the state. But they are going to go up. And you need to be prepared for that. A lot of people can't afford $400, $500 a month utility bills. And I guarantee you that the elite, they could care less what the utility bills are. They're going to run their house at 68 degrees. They're going to heat their swimming pools, and they're going to have their hot tubs and their spas. They don't care about your utility bill. They don't ever get the bill. It's paid by some trust somewhere. But you have to worry about that. So there are a lot of things that you can do. Plug the air leaks in your house. Open the windows at night. Turn the air conditioning up, to 78 degrees. That's the way we did it. I raised 4 kids, and we had no air conditioning in our house. It can be done.
There's all kinds of options you've got for your sunny side, the sunny side of your house, the windows. You can put those shears, those white shears in front. That reduces a lot of heat. Or better yet, your blinds. You can put up blinds there. If you don't have those and you happen to have shutters, close the shutters. There's nothing wrong with that. Grill outside in the heat, do your grilling outside, or better yet, discover new ways to make solar foods, cooking with the solar energy.
When I traveled in Tibet, nobody has electricity. I mean, you go outside of Lhasa, no one has electricity. They never know what it is. Everything is cooked with solar parabolic stoves out in the yard. So they boil water to make tea. They cook their meat. Everything is done on those solar. They don't have wood to burn. We're well above the tree line in Lhasa. It's 11,500 feet in the city. And then it goes up from there. You go up to the hills. There's nothing to burn. Everybody uses solar stoves.
That's the way to go. I mean, it's lighter, easier, and you always have a stove with you.
Right. Of course, everybody has to have cataract surgery by the time they're 30, but it's true. Yeah, they're up so high, the ultraviolet radiation just hammers their eyes.
I was going to say, because, sunshine is actually good for us,
Well, it's good for some people. I have to wear long sleeves and a wide brim hat these days, but
Yeah, but you also defeated some bad things too, so I can't say that I blame you there. Okay, what I'm looking for, you know what I'm looking for? I'm looking for my element link, and I don't know why I can't see it from here. God.
We got what, 2 minutes and then TFR?
Yeah, I know. I'm trying. Okay, so there is a link that I will be getting for you guys into the chat room. You can contact me on Element. It is better than Signal. The Signal app used to be encrypted and everything, and then we discovered that the NSA was following everything on there. Element is peer-to-peer encryption, person-to-person encryption, and that's where I am. I don't want. If I wanted the government to know my business, I'd put everything on Facebook, and everything's not on Facebook. You don't know what I've been up to. So anyway, still trying to find it. Where the heck did it go? I don't know. Good grief. I hate when that happens. So anyway, I will get it into the chat rooms and into the comments on YouTube, if you don't mind, Brooks.
No problem. No problem.
Where people can join Quantum Connections. You can join the Quantum Connections room there. We've got chat rooms and things like that. Just hit me up on it, and we'll get you in there. And you get to interact with other people that are already there. So we do have people there already. Anyway, I want to say thank you so much, Brooks, for this. And I think we should do this and continue on this vein.
Well, I'll try to build some templates that go along with Quantum Connections. This was done as a last-minute thing. That's why it just says Luckee One with Quantum Connections in print underneath their picture. We will do something a little more apropos for the program next time we do this.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. I want to tell everybody out there, I love you. I want you to take care of yourselves. Be safe. Help one another. And what is your legacy? Work on that. Whatever your legacy is, work on it. Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you being loyal to the program. It's been on for I don't know how many years now, but we're about to take another quantum leap forward.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Thank you again, everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful week. I think Brooks is going to be busy on Wednesday, if I remember rightly. Yeah.
Yeah, Wednesday night I'm going to a concert in Raleigh, so I won't be on the air on Wednesday night.
And I'll figure out what I'm going to be doing over here. we'll figure it out. I don't know what. It's like a whole new world. Anyway, again, thank you, everybody. I want to say thank you, and I hope everybody has a good night and stay healthy.
Good night.
Good night.